Well, there were certainly protests aplenty when the Secretary of State proposed extending the decommissioning order for a year to allow loyalists more time to hand over their weapons. Today, the government persuaded the Commons to allow the move, although a report from General de Chastelain in 6 months' time will be crucial. The Secretary of State joins us from Westminster. Mr Woodward, Eddie McGrady says that you've given the loyalists a free pass for a year to continue their reign of terror. How do you defend yourself against that accusation?
Well, Eddie is a man I respect a great deal, but he is simply wrong on this. What I've done is to ensure that, as well as the means which the police have right now to go and collect any weapons, to remove those weapons from the streets, regardless of the circumstances, in addition to that, what I'm trying to do is base my request for another year on the advice of the International Commission, that they be given the opportunity to get weapons off the streets that we think at the moment the police wouldn't be able to find. But I want to be absolutely clear about this, Noel. This is not instead of the police having the opportunity to go and pick up these weapons, which are, of course, illegal. This is as well as. And if I have an opportunity to get one more gun off the street, I'll take every opportunity I can to get those guns off the streets and protect the public and the police.
Secretary of State, the Police Federation has been very opposed to the whole idea of extension. And I have a letter here, which is in the public domain. It's not a leak or anything. It says that in agreeing to accept your argument, says the Police Federation, we've had your assurance that there will be no pressure on the PSNI to go softly in their efforts to uncover paramilitary arms and munitions. Should we not infer from that that there has been pressure on the PSNI?
Absolutely not at all, Noel. There is every pressure on the PSNI to take all illegal weapons off the streets. I don't see that guns have any part to play in the life of people in Northern Ireland. Not today, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Our task is to get those guns off the streets as quickly as we can. And if that means I need additional measures to those the police already have, I'll take those measures. But let's be really clear. Hugh Ward has never been soft on dealing with any kind of paramilitary activity, and he's under absolutely clear instructions from the policing board and everybody else to get on with dealing with crime, because at the end of the day, if you've got a gun, you shouldn't have one, it's a crime, and we'll proceed on that basis.
Peter Hain, your predecessor, said in 2005 that there would be a ruthless security clampdown. That's 4 years ago. People are saying we've heard this last chance saloon many times before.
Well, again, let's not be too cynical about this. If decommissioning were easy, we'd have had it done a long time ago. It's not easy. If dealing with violence were easy, we would never have had the troubles and nearly 3,500 people lose their lives in the course of these troubles. Let's be very, very careful about trivialising the complexity and the difficulty of this. A crime is a crime. Owning these weapons, having these weapons, is criminal. And if we can pursue them and get them off the streets tonight, we will. But what the international body are telling me is that they can, at the moment, they believe, have a very good chance of making real progress on decommissioning with loyalism. What I'm intent on doing is giving them that opportunity. And let's not forget, Noel, that they were extremely successful in bringing about decommissioning from PIRA. It took a number of years, but they were very, very successful. If that body is telling me now that they believe they can make meaningful progress on this, I think I would be a foolish Secretary of State to simply say, I ignore your advice, I won't take it. Yeah. I would rather have the short-term rhetoric.
Yeah. Dawn Purvis with the PUP says she's aware of talks with the Red Hand Commando and the UVF. Can you tell us if this meaningful progress is with all branches of loyalism, UDA included?
Other people can choose to make comments about anybody they want to. What I will simply tell you is that I'm told by the Commission that they are in meaningful dialogue, and it would be entirely inappropriate for me to take this any further than simply to say to you, I respect the independence of the international body. It's right that we allow them their independence. Yeah. I have my other sources where I'm able to learn from the security services and others about what progress may or may not be going on, but it would be entirely inappropriate for me to share that on this programme.
All right. What happens if, I mean, the LVF decommissioned a couple of old blunderbusses 12 years ago. What happens if they begin in a very small way within the 6 months? Does that mean they have another 10 years to decommission?
No, I've been absolutely clear about this. This is the last year. What has to happen within the next 6 months is there has to be meaningful progress. But whether we establish meaningful progress in these 6 months or whether they get the whole year, at the end of the year, the entire process is coming to an end.
So if they are going to decommission, they have to have it completed by February 2010.
If they wish to use the law and the way that we've established with the international body, there is only one way they can do it, and it has to be done within the next 12 months. Otherwise, it's over. And
if they don't do it, you'll pursue them with the ruthless security clampdown that was promised 4 years ago.
We're going to pursue them tonight with ruthless authority. What they've got to do is engage fully with the body to get this done. And what I want to see, and let's be clear about this, I believe, like I think everybody else watching this programme, wants to see tonight those weapons decommissioned. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. But I'm advised by the body that it would be helpful to achieve that if they have one remaining period of 12 months. I'm prepared to work with that body because the international decommission has been so successful in the past. But let's be clear. Yeah. The responsible person out there today should actually get those weapons off the streets tonight. Okay. They don't do anything to further the political process, the peace process. They simply allow criminals to function. Let's bring that to an end.
The House of Lords today said it was absolutely clear there's no consensus on this award of £12,000, a recognition payment that's been recommended in the Eames-Bradley report on dealing with the past. Does this mean that that will not happen?
Well, as I made very, very clear when Lord Eames and Dennis Bradley produced their report last week, it's absolutely essential that we calmly and sensibly reflect on the many recommendations of which the recognition payment is just one.
Sure, but the House of Lords says there's no consensus.
Months. And I think you will find that when Baroness Royal was pressed on this at questions today, what she said, and it's perfectly obvious, there is at the moment no consensus on the recognition payment. That's perfectly clear from looking at any newspaper last week. However, that doesn't mean to say that actually we shouldn't at the moment right now, sit back, calmly reflect on the full body of the recommendations of the Eames-Bradley report, and then set about further consultation with people.
That's what you've had a week to reflect calmly on it. Do you think the £12,000 payment should go ahead?
I'm not going to be tempted by your question here. What I've said is we have to reflect on the whole report. And at the end of the day, what we've got to take into account is whether there is a consensus on this. It's perfectly clear from the reports last week. Does what happened in the Lords today
make it less likely, perhaps?
Well, I think you have to be very careful here of just 1 week into the publication of this report, cherry-picking it like this. It took a huge amount of work to put this report together, based on talking to many people in the community. And I would say this to you, Noel. Dennis Bradley and Robin Eames didn't wake up one morning with the idea of a recognition payment. They tell me it was an idea which came from a number of people, including those in the unionist community. Yeah. I owe it not only to the Commission, but to all of those people who took part in this report to listen to them and not simply respond by saying, I'm not interested in what they had to say.
Secretary of State, thank you very much indeed.